morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Akey Ahiem, better known as Preacher. I'm here today with a good friend and brother of mine, Master Mike Martinez. Hello, Mike. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to be with you again, man. Always encouraged when I'm speaking to you. You provoke my mind, and we get into some heavy topics. So, what's on the table today, buddy?
Well, today, because of the way the world is going right now, the things that's happening, it came to me that we probably need to discuss this. What do you do when life happens?
Mm.
Because life happens. I don't care what you believe, what faith you are, what job you have, what position in life you is. Life's still gonna happen,
Right.
and how do you handle it makes all the difference in the world. Now, let me give you a scenario about a guy named Lamarcus Aldridge. Okay, he's a basketball player, all star. He 35 years old now. He was in. Well, let me start here. He started playing basketball at the AAU. He had aspirations to play junior high and high school basketball, and his fantasy was to play in the NBA. Because at that stage of the game, all it is a fantasy. So he kept going. He got into junior high, got in high school, got pretty good, got offers from college, got into college. So now the fantasy turned from a fantasy to a dream of playing in the NBA. So he played in the NBA 15 years. He had a 19.4 point average, 8.2 rebounds. He was a seven-time All-Star, so he was pretty good. The thing of it was, though, he never got the brass ring.
Mm.
After 15 years, he never made it to the finals, never got a chance to get that brass ring. So finally, he gets released from the team that he was with, Pop team, and there was a team called the Nets out there who was slated. Everybody believed is going to go to the finals, was going to win it when they go there, because they got Kevin Durant. They got Kyrie Irving and James Harden. These three are, man, the super scorers, everything. So everybody says they're going to win it. And Lamarcus Aldridge gets accepted to this team.
Mm.
So now the fantasy, all of the dream has now finally about to come true. It's in his grasp. He can taste it. He can feel it. He's on the team that everybody says going there. And he wakes up one morning and life happens. He gets a call from his doctor saying he got an irregular heartbeat, and if he don't quit playing basketball, it could kill him.
Mm.
So what do we do as people, as human beings? Because everybody's not saying, everybody don't believe the same thing. I know how he handled it. How do you handle stuff like that? I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, it's very interesting, and that the way you built it up is, it's like getting to the tip of where the roller coaster is about to dip down, and you're supposed to get that excitement,
Right.
and they take it away from you, right?
Right.
But here's what I'm gonna say: life is a matter of pushing the envelope to that point, and then seeing how you deal with it. In other words, and for me, I firmly believe this, that we are constantly being pushed in different directions and unexpected things to see how we handle it and how our character develops.
Right.
Because I believe that our character develops because of adversity, because of facing things that we weren't expecting, because we expected, hey, this is going to be good. I'm going to be married for the rest of my life. And all of a sudden you find that your partner is not who they were, or they're cheating on you. And now it's like the whole dream is lost, right? But how are you going to handle that after that, right? Because again, adversity is what tests your character, and your character doesn't improve when everything is going smooth. Right. Over and over in the Bible, and you as a preacher, you know this more than I do, but the Bible has tremendous examples of people that had a goal in mind had great things that were coming towards them, and then boom, all of a sudden, the worst possible thing could happen, right? So I think that's God's way of saying, this is how you're going to grow. You got to face this issue and you got to face this adversity. Now, the problem is a lot of people don't believe that. They just go and say, oh, woe to me. God is punishing me. And right. So it's all about what your beliefs are and how you deal with it.
So it sounds to me like you said it's your perspective.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Now, just to clarify the story before we move on, Lamarcus Aldridge made a decision, because we all have decisions we have to make, good, bad, and indifferent. You have to make a decision. His decision was, because I spent my whole life chasing the dream and I sacrificed my family chasing the dream. Now that the dream has been taken from me, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to my family. To me, it's a good decision. I'm going to make up for that lost time. I'm going to spend all the time I can with them and everything, which is a lot of times you don't get that opportunity. So he made, but I do know there's other people, not him, but there's other people that would have said, you know what, if I die, I'm die. If I'm going to die doing what I love to do, I'm going to continue to play basketball. So it's all about the decision you make. I think he made the right, but you got to make the right decision for you and what your belief system is.
Right. I agree 100%. And again, what you're talking about there, Akey, is, what was the trajectory, right? Because you could have a forward, upward trajectory after that incident, or you could have a downward spiral, right? Where you just keep going in a bad situation. But because he said, you know what? I'm going to take this time and the years that I didn't dedicate to my family, I'm now going to dedicate to them. I mean, I think that's a very positive way of looking at it. And the character builds when you're facing an issue like that, and you can find in your mind how to turn it around and make it a positive thing.
And I'm glad we touched on this, because there was another thing that I didn't even think about to just a second. When his family has made a life without him being there. We got our routine because you're not there. For 15 years, certain part of the season, you're not here. We got our life already situated. Now you're home.
Right.
You're interjecting yourself into our lives in a place where I don't mind you being my dad, but you weren't a part of this. Now you're kind of messing up my routine, so to speak. How do you make that work? I mean, and I know one time you told me that you do family meetings and stuff. You think that would, in this case, would be something that would be needed to move this forward without causing a whole lot of problems?
Yeah, well, it's definitely what they call a paradigm shift, where you're used to doing something, you're used to thinking in a certain way, and now, because of the situation, things have to change and old habits have to change. I use family meetings in a way where I can sit down and communicate with my family. And I think communication, as you know, as a pastor, is one of the biggest breakdowns of the family unit. When you can't communicate correctly, then you see that things start falling apart. So I make it my business to sit down with my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and get a little insight into their mind. Now, there have been family meetings that we've done where we say, here's the deal, guys. Papa lost his job. I'm Papa, let's say, right? I'm Papa to the family, but Papa lost his job. So now we're going to be in this crunch situation and see how everybody feels about that. See what kind of suggestions people put on the table. And number one, that helps the person that's in the situation, but it also clarifies to other people so that they know, hey, at this time, we're going through this challenge together. So, yeah, to me, I mean, especially being the head of the house, right?
Right.
you got to have that open communication and talk to the family and say, hey, this is what we're facing, and I'd like to hear your input. I don't want you to think that this is the end of the world, because you know what, we're going to get through this, but I wanted you to be involved in knowing what the situation is. And I just think that just makes everything a lot better.
Yes. And we've come to a place in our society where there's another dynamic that's taking place, because children have seen how adults handle certain situations when life happens. And now they're starting to imitate us, and it's a negative. Right. In other words, all my life, say I'm just using me as a kid, all my life I've come home, and when dad or mom have a problem, they get a highball, or they got to get a martini, or they got to, make themselves feel better through drinking because of the situation that happened. Now, I had a bad grade in school, or something happened in school, my feelings got hurt. Now, the only way I know how to handle this is to do what I've seen you do.
Right.
I want to come do what you do. I think that how I'm going to solve this is get me a drink.
Right.
And before I know it, I'm out of control, because the drink don't solve anything, because once it wear off, that situation is still there. So we need to realize, by us being an example, how to train our young people how to handle things when life happens. Because if not, they're going to follow the negative example, and it's only going to lead to worse things. What do you have to say on that?
Yeah, that actually two good points there. Number one, like you just finished mentioning, that, a lot of times we're not cognizant, we being parents or authority figures, because it's not just parents, right? If you're a teacher, if you're the general of an army and you're in the middle of a war and a soldier comes into your tent and you're sobbing, right? Then they're saying, oh my God, it must be worse than I thought, right? And they're going to react the same way. So, but as parents, right, we have to be cognizant that we're giving subtle examples to our kids about how to deal with these things, right?
Right.
So, and that happens quite often, right? People get upset, they get stressed out, they go and use some kind of a drug. They go and they drink something, they go out and they hit the bars, and they cheat on their mates, whatever the situation is. But kids look at that, and it slowly filters into their mind about how they're going to do things, right? The other thing that I would say is that, if you start with the belief, and this is very important, if you start with the belief that every adversity has the seed of an equivalent benefit, or a greater benefit, every adversity has the seed of a greater benefit. If you start with that idea and you look at the problem and say, wow, we got a problem here. I lost my job. Oh man, what am I going to do? You know what? Something good is going to come out of this. When one door closes, three more doors open. When you look at it from that perspective, it looks like it's a much better situation, right? If the farmer looked at the fact that he's putting a seed in the ground and he's losing that seed, right? He may feel depressed about it. But once he realizes that seed is going to bring 10 other seeds with it when it grows, then he sees he's got a long-term picture of it, and he sees the benefit of it. And you look at it totally different, right? He's not going to be going to drink. He's not going to go to pick up a drink because he planted the seeds. He's going to go and rejoice and say, hey, you know what? I planted that seed, but within a short period of time, I'm going to have 100 seeds coming out of that one seed. So that's the difference. You got to start with that fundamental idea that God is not going to give you more than you can handle.
Right.
And the fact that you're getting that is God's way of pushing you. How far can we go with this, Akey? How much more intelligence can you release? How much more of your greatness can you share with the world because you're facing this problem? And you know what? The Bible, again, you know this better than me, but the Bible is full of examples where people were, you take Joseph's story, right? Joseph woke up with a dream and said, oh my God, I'm going to be the king. And in his excitement, he talked about it to all his family members. And what did they do? They turned around and said, yeah, you're going to be king. Huh. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's right.
And they did whatever they could to prevent that. But what happened ultimately? Ultimately, I mean, in the beginning, throughout that journey, he went through and faced tremendous adversity. But he ended up being a king, and he ended up being a historical king that right now, 5,000 years later, we're still talking about it. So that's the power of just maintaining the focus and understanding that when there is adversity that hits us, there's something greater that's coming.
Right. And sticking with the scenario of the kid and the parent, there was a commercial. You probably remember this commercial. Used to come on TV. The father busted the kid for having drugs, smoking marijuana. And the father wondered, where did you get this from? How did you learn about this? And he looked at his dad and said, I got it from you, Dad.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, that aspect of our lives of don't do like I do like I say do, don't work. We have to set the example, be the example. And you're right about the adversity. The butterfly, when it changed from a caterpillar to a butterfly, it's in a cocoon. While it's struggling to get out that cocoon, if you were to cut that cocoon to help that butterfly, it will die. But it's the struggle that put the fluids through all his wings and strengthened him and helped the transformation. And when it breaks out on its own, it transformed into something beautiful because of the struggle. Without the struggle, it wouldn't happen. So what we are saying here, you have to, life happens. That's not an issue here. Is what do you do when life happens? Are you gonna go out and get, many people go get drunk? Because everybody don't believe the Bible. When we was younger, the Bible was the ultimate authority, not anymore. Not because it's not, it's because people don't believe it to be so. So people will go to whatever it is that they think gonna relieve the problem. If it's drinking, I'm gonna go drink. If it's drug, I'm a drug. If it's chasing women, then give me that, what I think is gonna be relief for a few minutes, that's what I'm gonna do. So how do you handle it? I mean, and like you said, there was a book long time ago called Plussing the Negative, the Minuses. So you can take a negative and plus it and make it a positive. Mm-hmm. So if you take a negative situation and make it a positive situation, you will come stronger and better out of it. Or what you're talking about, when we could tell people how we came through it in church, we call it the testimony, that we got through it and how we got through it, which is why we're having this conversation now. We want people to understand, no matter how bad it is, no matter how, because every day there's something different that happens. You go to a doctor's office and have a chest pain and find out what you thought was gas was a heart attack.
Right.
How do you handle that? You go there and find out, hey, you only got a certain amount of time to live because you didn't take care of yourself like you should have. How are you going to handle that? What are you going to do with that? There are so many scenarios out there that says, okay, this is not what I envisioned it to be, but because it's not envisioned, how can I use this to make me better and to help somebody else?
Yeah, I often fall back, and I like to get your input on this, but I often fall back on the idea that, man, today I got this problem. Man, what a huge problem. Oh my God, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And right there, because of my short-sightedness, right, I can't see beyond what's going to happen. And what most of the times happen is that 3, 4, 5 years later, you look back at that same problem and you say, man, that was the life-altering problem that got me to shift this way, find this new mentor, read the new book, attend the new class, glorify God in a certain way, where now that one issue, that one problem, it was the biggest thing in the world, but it shifted me, and now I'm in this whole new direction. And that's what was the catalyst to make that happen. And a lot of times we are short-sighted in that we don't see that, because we're going through it right now and we're thinking, oh my God, how am I going to pay the mortgage? Oh my God, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Oh my God, I'm never going to get rid of this health issue, whatever the situation is. But, there's been a lot of people that have gone to the doctor and they said, hey, you got this terminal disease, and they turned everything around, right? Yeah. Now, there's other people that go to bed and put the covers over their head and stay there till they die. And then there's some people that say, you know what, I'm going to do a total reverse. I'm going to stop eating those fried pork chops. I'm going to start doing the exercise. I'm going to start glorifying God. I'm going to take whatever the situation is, right. But they find a way to turn it around. So I like to look at, when I'm going through something, number one, I always know that there's a seed of a greater benefit. But I also say to myself, where is this going to take me in the next 5 years? How is it going to alter my life so that I'm doing something different? Now, my question to you, Akey, I know you're a pastor, and you and I have gone through many conversations where I've asked for your advice on things, and I'm sure you get that a lot. Is there a fundamental belief that you have when I'm coming to you or anybody else is coming to you? And, everybody got different situations. Oh, I'm having this marriage crisis. Oh, I'm having this health crisis. Oh, I'm having this financial crisis. Is there a grounding belief that you fall back on, that you tell people when they're going through these hard times?
Yes. You have already said it, but what it is, a lot of times I have found out when I was in college, they taught me this. You got to listen to the whole thing. You can't hear just the top portion, because a lot of times people don't tell you the real problem. They put something else out there, but once you hear the real problem, now I can answer it correctly. I don't want to give you a quick answer and realize I'm not addressing the issue. I'm addressing something else, because I could always tell you that God won't put no more on you than you can bear to help you. But if you don't believe, then that does you no good.
Right.
I have to give you another example. That's why I use sports, anything, to get people to see what I'm saying. Then I could bring you to that place where you can now believe, because I could show you through real life how it works. So, and one of the main things you said, like when you got a problem with marriage, I had a professor made a tape for me this one time about listening. He actually did a class on this, and he gave it to me because he knew I counseled people. And I would make copies and give to people. You need to learn how to listen, because a lot of times the problem in marriages is I can't give you a quick answer, because it might not. You have to learn to listen to your partner, because if I'm not hearing what you're saying, then you're not going to respond to it. I hear the sound, but I don't hear what you're saying. So sometimes you have to learn how to listen, and sometimes to tell people you have to learn how to listen in order to help the situation. Because we talked about it before, the 5 love languages. If you love giving gifts, but I'm steady telling you gifts don't rate with me. I love to be hugged and squeezed and kissed, but you don't want to do, because you're not hearing me. you keep wanting to give me gifts because that's
Right.
what you like. So the marriage is going to end up going in the wrong direction. But if you learn to listen and say, okay, I like giving gifts, but they like to be hugged, even though that's not my thing, I need to hug them if I want this to work. So I have to hear what they're saying and how they're saying it so I know how to address it. Because believe this, when you start trying to use one phrase as a catch-all for everything, you're only going to get in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And what you're talking about is something that one of my other mentors, who's a very famous guy, his name is Bob Proctor. He says, he says that the only problem we have in civilization is lack of knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. Because in your example there, you know, I'm giving my wife jewelry, or I'm giving her gifts, but she doesn't feel love because of that. She feels love when I hold her and I kiss her and you know, and do these other things, right? And so it's my lack of that knowledge, or my not understanding that is the bridge there between myself and her, right? And it happens with everything, right? The fact of the matter is human beings can do amazing things. So if the doctor gives you bad news, hey, you got this problem in your body, you got this disease. Has there ever been anybody that has overcome that disease? Yeah, there has been somebody. I don't care what the disease is, right? So the question is, when that other person that overcame that disease, what did they do that I'm not doing? Because that's the lack of the knowledge, right? And the same thing goes with money. The same thing, you know, if you're making $50,000 a year, the only reason why you're making $50,000 is because you don't know how to make $100,000, right? And it's just a lack of knowledge. If you knew how to make $100,000, you'd be there making $100,000. So where do I get that knowledge? So that to me is like the ultimate way. It's very simple. And you know, when I say this to some people, they say, oh, of course, Mike, if you're making 50,000, the only reason why you're not making 100,000 is because you don't have the knowledge. Of course, that's stupid. Why don't you even mention that? Because it's so stupid that it's reality. Yeah. Right. And we just, sometimes it goes beyond us. It goes right over our heads. And we don't understand that that's the way life is. It's about all the problems that we face as a society is because of lack of knowledge. And if you went a little deeper, this is what I'm talking about, you know, building your character. If you went a little deeper, you could find the answers in the Bible. You could find the answers in a mentor. You could find the answers somehow, right? And it's up to you to build your character by finding those answers.
Right. And the Bible declares that my people perish from a lack of knowledge.
That's it.
So, and also, the Bible was written, and I didn't want to make this into a Bible session, but the Bible was written to give you so many stories to cover every aspect of life, so you would have an example of how to handle certain things when adversity happens. Because as you said, adversity makes you grow, it makes you stronger. And you know, we used to say, if it don't kill you, it makes you stronger.
That's right.
And we have to understand that it's how we come through things that we need to let somebody else know. Lamarcus Aldridge, depending on how this story ends up, but I believe it's going to turn out good, he's going to be able to tell somebody, I had the choice that you make, I had to make that choice. This is what I did. This is how I did it. This is how I got through it. Because believe me, there's a new dynamic, family dynamic that took place because he's now home when he wasn't before, that has to be addressed, that has to be worked through, because it's new to him too. You know, I ain't used to being home now. I'm used to being out working out. I can't do all that. So now I'm home and you want to watch your favorite program, but I want your attention. Now we got to work through this. It's just a difficult situation. But we as people got, you know what, even in business, Mike, as you've already alluded to, if my business starts to fail or go under, adversity take place, what do I do? what do I run to the nearest bar? Do I run to the, or do I go and find me a mentor that can help me through this process so I can learn how to overcome it and help somebody else through it?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're talking about there, Akey, is very, very interesting, because God created this system. And again, I'm not trying to make this into a religious, you want to call it the universe, you want to call it life, whatever you want to call it is what you want to call it. But what you're alluding to is that we are constantly growing or we're disintegrating, right? So your basketball player example, he either has to grow now and see, hey, how do I become a better family man with my family? I'm spending more time with them. How do I become a better influence? How do I become, the head of the house where I've been missing for all this time? That takes some personal growth. Yes. The way the system is made is a plant grows as far as it can grow. And when it stops growing, it starts disintegrating. Right. So it's up to us. It's up every single issue, every single problem, every single adversity that we face. We got to look at that as an opportunity to grow. How can I grow? How can I get better? How can I pick up new skills? If you do that, then life continues. Right. But if you shrink to that adversity, you start that disintegration process, right? And I think, unfortunately, here's the facts. And I know that you're a reader because you read a lot, and you constantly got the good book in your hand, and you're looking at stuff, and you're constantly trying to figure out how to decipher some of those messages, because it's not easy, right? The Bible, you can't just read it like a regular book. You got to look deeper into it, right? Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, most people, and this is an actual statistic, most people don't read beyond the age, beyond 7th grade.
Right.
They just don't pick up a book again. Right. Yeah. So how do you continue to grow? How do you continue to get better if you're not willing to accept more information? Right. And that, to me, it makes a big deal. So when I'm facing a problem, again, I'm thinking, how can I help myself develop more into a better person, into more skills, into more, being a bigger and better leader for my family? How do I do this because of the adversity? Right. And I think that's something most people don't think about, the growth versus, disintegration.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a proven fact. When I first heard this, blew my mind. You could take a brand new house, build a brand new house, all the bells and whistles and everything, and sit it there and leave it there, and nobody moves into it, it will disintegrate.
Mm-hmm.
That same house, you could put somebody living in it, and it will last the whole duration and will not disintegrate. So to go along with you saying, if you put information in, if you're growing, if you're learning, you will grow. You will keep expanding. But if you don't put nothing in it, you will disintegrate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, Akey, for those people that don't know you, or if they do know you, the fact that he's doing this right here with me right now, the fact that I don't know if you've gone into any of his YouTube channels. He has 2 very, very good channels. Akey and I started, we worked together in a business called Public Adjusting, but he said, hey, Mike, I like what you're doing on YouTube. Can you show me some of that stuff? And we started working together, and I referred him to a few books and stuff like that. And he picked it up. I mean, and we're talking about a man that's mature. You see, he's got gray hair, but up to this age, he's still growing, right? And that's what keeps his life energy constantly moving forward. He could have said, I'm too old for that, Mike. Now that's for young folks. I can't pick up that technology now, but he did it. He said, you know what? I don't understand that, but I'm going to pick up the book. And Mike, do me a favor. I don't understand this. How do you do that? And little by little, he picked up the skills, and now he's got a new skill that it just empowered his life, right? Empowered him to be a greater communicator, empowered him to reach more people with his message, right? So that to me is a beautiful thing. I love the fact that you're that type of person, because there's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of people. A lot of people say, nah, I could never do that. Oh, YouTube? Oh, no. Oh, my God. I don't understand technology. I'm having a hard time with this cell phone, right? But you said, you know what? That's a challenge, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to read the book, and I'm going to take the lessons. And, that's a beautiful thing, man.
And I'll tell you something else, too, because I know him. I know his heart. I am not afraid to call him. Now, what I'll do is, if I know I need time, I'll call him and say, Mike, did I catch you the best?
Yeah.
You tell me if he's busy, if he's not busy. If you tell me he's not busy, now I could get with him and address his, and we might spend an hour on one situation to help me get through it, because it's integral and we're not in the same place because of this COVID-19.
Yeah.
But we do it like this, and he'll walk me through it, and okay, now I got it. I don't have to call you back with that no more. But in society today, we have to stop being afraid to ask for help. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let Mike take it to end it. But Mike talked about me having a YouTube channel. Mike got a YouTube channel. He got some great teachers on there. I know, because I've listened to the majority of them. I'm not gonna say every single one, because that'll be the one I didn't look at yet. But I see all of them. But he go to his YouTube channel, learn from it, listen to it. But me and my wife, we used to go shopping together, and she'd walk all over the store searching for stuff. And when she look up, I'm outside or at the other end of the line waiting on her. She said, "How you get finished so fast?" I said, "Cause while you walk around looking for that stuff," I said, "Excuse me, can you help me?" And they directed me right to it. So while you run around, and it took her a while, but she finally figured it out. It's a lot simpler to say, "Excuse me, can you help me?" than to walk all over that store looking for stuff. In life, it's a lot easier to say, "Excuse me, can you help me?" rather than spend your life going through all the bump, bruises, and downfalls, when you can simply ask for help. And I want to thank you, Mike, for being the help that I needed during this time.
Well, I appreciate that. And just for those that are looking at this and you're still here, this conversation that Akey and I are having, we actually had this conversation last week in a private conversation. Akey called me up, and like he said, "Hey, Mike, you got a few minutes? Yeah, let's talk." We started talking about, how do you change somebody's perspective when they're facing a big problem? Same conversation we're having today. And we went on for, I don't know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. And we decided, or actually Akey decided, Mike, that's what we just discussed, I think will help a lot of people. Why don't we do a video and we share that information?
Right.
And that's what we're doing today, right now. And, we could have kept the information to ourselves. We know this stuff. We shoot ideas back and forth. But the bottom line is, by us sharing this, by Akey sharing this on his channel and me sharing it on my channel, we get to help. Even if it's just one person. If one person gets the motivation and says, "Man, that Akey, he's right. I got to think about it this way. I got to do it this way." That's all the reward that we need. And we're looking, obviously, to share it and help as many people as possible. But one person that we share our ideas with, and they pick that up and make a little shift, right? And sometimes, I'll tell you, in today's society, we're living in a world where it's very easy. Put on the TV and you could get depressed in no time, right? Yeah. And you need to find somebody that can offer hope. You need to find somebody that can decipher those biblical messages that the common man can't just read and get, right? It doesn't hit the heart the right way. But you get a guy like Akey that says, look at what's deeper in that message there. And that's hopefully what we're doing. And I'm totally proud of Akey with what he does with his two channels. And this is a fact. The fact that you're seeing this right now, this is the product of what we put together, because we have these conversations, and every one of you should have. If you can, pick up the phone and call Akey and say, hey, I'm going through this issue. Hey, Mike, I'm going through this issue. I'm not nearly as good as Akey with helping people with their problems. If you got a YouTube issue, then I can help you out. But
Yeah.
Akey is, he's more of a spiritual leader than a lot more than I am. But there's situations like Akey just said. You go to the store and you could get, oh yeah, the coat you're looking for is in that aisle number 9. Instead of going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to get there, you just get pointed to the right direction, and you make it faster. So, again, I encourage everybody, if you have an issue, pick up the phone or just look at Akey's videos, because Akey, I'll tell you, every time I see one of his videos, my heart opens up and it shines, right? And again, I could put on the news and hear all the terrible things that are happening in the world. But then I say, let me just get out of that and go on a YouTube video from Akey, and it just changes my perspective. Yeah, you know what? This is just a temporary thing. This too shall pass, right? And that's how it works. So Akey, thank you, man. I appreciate you inviting me to this class, and hopefully we'll help a few people.
Praise God. I believe we will. Well, that's just, I keep telling you this. I am so glad God decided to place you in my life to help me, because you gave me a platform to bring the word, the gospel to people that I didn't have before. And he used you to get me there. So I thank God for you and your family, and especially, me and your wife. That's my girl right now.
She loves you, man. She loves you. I'm kind of jealous. I think she loves you more than she loves me, man.
Don't you believe that?
Well, anyway,
God watch over you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. And same with you, man. You're doing a great job sharing these messages of light and growth. And you know what? You're taking people's lives to a different level, and it's a beautiful thing, man. I love seeing that.
Thank you.
All right, Akey. I'll speak to you soon, brother.
Good enough.